So saving yourself money. So the example was a client, I think it was a business, somewhere about £1.5 to £2 million. Within 6 months, we'd saved him 91,000 off his bottom line without any extra, so that's 91,000 of extra profit without any extra sales. And there's three main areas that we went through. Firstly, salaries and performance. We started measuring the performance of the people in his team and the actual delivery. And it was really quite interesting that the good ones like being measured and the bad ones don't. When you start putting measurements into performance measurements into a team, some people go, oh, that seems all right. I've got something to aim for. Brilliant. Or other people go, why are you micromanaging me? We don't need to do this. And when you get that, that's a big red flag for me. If somebody doesn't want to keep score, they're hiding something. And in this example, when I first met this director of this business, I'd spoken to the owner of the business about the work that we were going to do together. And I sat down with him and I said, hey, I just so that I know what you've spoken to about how I spoke to the MD last week about what we're going to do. Has he filled you in on anything? What do you know about the work that we're going to do? And he said, he hasn't told me anything, but what I do know is that we don't want it. Which is arms folded, shoulders up, defensive pose. And this guy was the sales director. And we put in some KPIs and measurements in place, and you'll never guess what, people. He was not delivering. And we saved money. He was being paid £4,000 a month and delivering sales of less than £500 a month. But because the other two directors were also throwing stuff in the pot, it was all going in the pot and business was good. It was all right. We weren't really measuring where it came from. So measuring the performance of the people is so critical. There are so many businesses out there that are fat. They have got so much fat to trim. And, the recent coronavirus thing, I think, has made that really apparent. One of my largest clients is a £100 million construction firm. And I spoke to one of the directors the other day and I asked him the question, so, you've got people furloughed. Have you been thinking, why do we miss those? Why do we even have those people? What do they even do? He said, yeah, we've got a list of about 6 people. And we don't even really understand why we've got them and what the value is. And interestingly, they're the ones that seem the busiest. Now, I would not let the client then just blame the team member for that, because it means the system's not set up around them properly to measure their performance and be clear. And if people aren't really clear on what they need to do, they're going to act busy to prove their worth. And that's absolutely natural. I wouldn't judge a person for doing that. But if they're not really getting performance out of those people, then unfortunately they either need to make them redundant, which is happening in a lot of cases now, or they need to get some performance out of people. And there is so much fat in businesses that can be made. And how many businesses out there right now that are coping just as well with less? Absolutely. I've seen businesses cope with twice as much with the same amount of staff, or just the same with half the amount of staff, because there's not enough pressure on people. Years and years ago, I used to work in bars and nightclubs. When we do it, I used to do new openings. So we'd spend a load of fun time training all the team and getting them all ready. And on an opening night, there'd be about 16 behind the bar, 14 glass collectors, 2 people cleaning the toilets, 8 people glass collecting. There's so many people. And over a period of time, we just reduce it and reduce it and reduce it. And every time those people go, oh, we can't cope, we're short-staffed, you take another member of staff off and they manage. And the amount that you could cut was unbelievable, because people would innovate, because they'd have to. Suddenly they'd realize that, hang on a minute, the wine's up that end of the bar and the wine glasses are up the other end of the bar, and I sell about 20 glasses of wine a night. That's 5 minutes. And when you've got the motivation of angry drunks waving £20 notes under your nose and shouting at you, that gives you enough pressure to change. And I don't believe that in a lot of workplaces we put people under enough pressure. And when I say pressure, I don't mean stress. Stress is negative. Pressure is good. People who say they like stress, that they don't mean it. What they mean is that they like pressure. I don't believe in a lot of our workplaces we put good, positive pressure built with the mixture of strong targets and support. And putting those two together, that you can make the business way more efficient. So that's how you can save loads of money, by doing more with less. So the next one is what I call hard efficiency. Now, hard efficiency is the simple mechanics of what I buy and what I sell. And it's really quite simple. I want to pay as little as much and get as much as I can. So I will always look at a business's pricing. And more often than not, businesses are underpricing what they're doing. But we will find a way to buy for less. It's pretty simple. I've got some models around pricing models, and certainly around discounting, which is a real challenge. People don't realize that, for example, if you have a 20% net profit margin and you start discounting pieces of work by 10%, you're cutting your profit in half, which means you have to sell twice as much just to get the same amount of money. And people don't realize that when they're going, oh, it's only a little bit off the top, it's like half your profit. So understanding that is really, really important. And soft efficiency is around the efficiency of people. For example, if you are an electrical contractor and you do a quote for a client, and that you say, right, that's going to be 10 man hours to do that. It's going to take me 10 days to do that job. Well, if it's 11, what happens to your profit margin? What if it's 12? I worked with a client who their gross profit margin on the profit and loss account was not matching up with how they were pricing their jobs. And I was pretty sure it was in their soft efficiency. And the client was really resistant. No, our lads are working really hard, or lads are working really hard. It turns out that, so eventually I got him to pull out some timesheets and marry those up against the estimates. The first one that he pulled out, they had charged the customer for 3 days, and the job took 10 days, like over 3 times. So, and because of even with the quite a large markup on labor, they actually paid to do that job. They made a loss at cost to do that job. The next one he pulled out was a smaller job, which was something like 6 or 8 hours. They'd spent 24 hours on it. And then when they looked into it, it turned out that the guy who was planning the jobs, because he wasn't being held accountable to the commercial values of the jobs, if it was a 3-day job, he booked 4 days in just in case. And then, so the lads were told it's a 4-day job. And what happens? Nature expands to fit the vacuum. They go, oh, it's a 4-day job. This will take me 4 days. And then it took them 4.5. And they were systematically set up to lose money. So I know whenever I start working with a business, I know that we could get more efficiency out of people, both on the cost of sales side and on the support team side. I know that we can probably buy better and sell better. And I know that we can make sure that we don't over deliver. Architects, designers, web designers, that kind of business are notorious for kind of quoting a price. And because they're artists and they want it to all be, and perfectionists, they take too long to finish the job, and they don't know why they have not made as much money as they had planned. So that soft efficiency, especially when you're selling time, is super, super important. So that's the end of the money section. So I've got 2 slides left. The last slide is I want to show you the glue that holds all this whole stuff together. And then after that, I'm going to stay on the call. If anyone's got any questions, immediate questions, I'm happy to stay on the call. I am going to the beach this afternoon, but I can wait a little bit and answer any immediate questions that you've got. But what I want to offer everybody on the call is what I call a signpost call. That graph there is the law of diminished intentions. Now, I said to you at the start of the call that I really want to make an impact. And I've done these webinars before, and I know that people have really enjoyed them, and they've said, oh, that's brilliant, I'm definitely going to implement that. And they don't. And the law of diminished intentions says that the longer I go away from a decision or a learning without taking action, the less likely it is to happen. So that's why I want to support you guys with that. So I'm just putting in the chat box a link to book a 15-minute signpost call with you, so that you can book that into your diary. Any of the things that the templates that you've wanted, or the things that you want further clarification on, we can do that in that call. And that's really about me signposting what your next step is. And you'll know that by booking that call, now you've taken some action towards implementing the stuff that you've learned on this webinar. And on that call, I'm going to find out what it is that you think is the most important for you to do based on what you learned in the webinar. And I'm going to signpost you to maybe a book recommendation. might signpost you to a YouTube video or a software or something like that. Or it might make sense for us to discuss how we could work together to get you to the result that you're looking for. And that will all happen on that call. So I'm actually, click on the link now, because take some action now and get it done. I'll pause for just a minute so that you don't fall foul of the law of diminished intentions. So click on the link and get that booked in now if you'd like to. And give me a wave when you're done, and then we'll move on. Okay. Are we about done on those? We can move on. I can see some of those coming through. Great. Well, if there's a couple of steps that if you haven't quite found a time, I'm going to move on. You can always just go back to that then. So the glue that holds this whole thing together is you. All those systems, process, ideas, they're all going to be based around you. And first thing I will massively suggest to people is what I call horizontal and vertical development. Horizontal development is learning skills, doing things, learning how to, how different bits of software work, or learning, management skills and sales skills and things like that. But vertical development is learning how to be the person that you need to be in order to operate that stuff. And that's the juice that holds it all together. People do spend quite a lot of time learning things to do, But unless you actually work on the psychology of you, things don't happen. That's the turbo boost. Just give me a wave if there's some things that you know how to do and for some reason you just don't do them. Yeah, 100% of the people on the call. So knowing how to do stuff isn't always it's better than not knowing how to do stuff. That's definitely for sure. But it's really important that you understand the psychology. Why aren't I doing that? I know that that is right for me. I know that that is going to make my business better, and I'm not doing it. So investigating why that is and becoming that version of you that steps up to the mark and does those things, that is going to be really important. So the next thing is where it says the fish stinks from the head down, which is a little unsanitary. But I have quite often conversations with people and they'll say, oh, do you know what? My team, what you just said, Jeff, that is so right. My team don't do that. And sometimes I get hired or people try and hire me to sort that lot out. And when I was more inexperienced as a coach, I'll go, oh, all right, no problem. I'll go and sort them all out. But imagine being a school teacher and you've got a kid who's kind of got behavioral problems and you really, really work hard on that kid and you get little glimmers of hope and stuff and you're a passionate teacher and you can see that the kid's starting to get it. But then every day that kid goes home and the parents go, oh, you little bugger, and whacks them around the head and teaches them all sorts of horrible things again. It's never going to work. So I won't work with a team unless I'm working with the leader of that team. Because like the parent example, it comes from somewhere. So it's really important to take the next step, which is extreme ownership. If it is to be, it's up to me. I won't allow my clients to get away with blame and excuses. The only way that it works is if we are in ownership. And I'm going to leave you with the last thing here is how to tell that you're in ownership or how to tell that you're in blame or excuses. Is if what you're saying is the reason why something has or hasn't happened, if the reason that you give is external, it's because of these people, it's because of the economy, it's because of Brexit, it's because of COVID, then you're in excuses, denial, or blame. It's because my staff just don't get it. They're just stupid and they don't get it. Well, that's probably not the case. Extreme ownership goes, okay, well, if your staff are stupid, which idiot hired them? How clear have you been about what is expected of them? Because I know from working in businesses, the instructions that we give our employees, unless we really think about it, is really woolly sometimes. We give them woolly instructions and then get frustrated that they don't do it. So my last point to you today is take extreme ownership of your business, your situation, your time. If you find yourself saying, I can't go home and spend time with my kids because of insert external excuse or blame, then you will always be in that place because you'll be trying to sort out the external problem. And that external problem you may well sort out, but it will be replaced by another almost identical external problem. Until you deal with, if it's a time thing, until you deal with your own personal efficiency or your instant gratification that you can't resist, chatting to customers for hours on end when it's just not, or team members, because you just like talking to people. That's not putting money in the tills. So that concludes the content that I wanted to cover today. I'm happy to stay here for a little while for any immediate questions. Has everybody managed to book in a signpost call? Great. So I'll be able to see those in my diary. So really happy to take those calls. But if there's anything that you want to ask immediately, do it. If not, I will catch up with you on your signpost call. I will call you at the time that you have booked, and I will be able to signpost you to the next stage of your learning. And you can be pleased that you'll know that you've already taken one step forward. And I will recommend that you now spend the next 15 minutes or 20 minutes looking through your notes, because I could see you're all making notes, deciding what she's going to apply and what you're going to do. And if you want to take it to the next level and then commit to that, make that phone call, send that message, that is that first step. The first step is the most important. Right, I'm going to stop talking now.
Thanks, Jeff. Not for stopping talking, but thanks for that. It was a good, great presentation.
Glad you enjoyed it, Martin. Thank you. What business are you in, Martin?
I've got a wealth management business.
Oh, great. Okay.
3 employees.
Perfect.
And it's all my fault, everything.
Yes, it is. and that sounds critical at first, but that'll set you free. That'll set you free, because now you can change it. If it's because of Brexit, you can't change Brexit, so you're screwed.
Yeah. Excellent.
Good realization. So if no one's got any questions, I will see you all on your signpost calls, and I'll head off to the beach.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Jeff.
See you. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Ambridge.